So let's talk about how to scaffold your ELT lessons. So scaffolding. Here we see construction scaffolding. On the left, we see a man using very inadequate, unsafe scaffolding. So he's not able to go out his work in a productive manner because he's afraid he's going to fall. Whereas the men on the right have a very secure scaffolding system, so they can just work and work effectively. The scaffolding is secure. They have good safety equipment, harnesses and hard hats. That's very good scaffolding. Piaget, Vygotsky and Bruner. So we see the scaffolding continuum. Tasks that a learner can do without assistance, tasks that a learner can do only with assistance, and tasks that a learner cannot do even with assistance. Piaget thought that children were lone and autonomous learners and believed development and teaching were separate. Whereas Vygotsky created his zone of proximal development to improve on Piaget's theory of autonomy because he believed development and teaching were linked. And he developed what was called the more knowledgeable other, MKO. And then Bruner, along with Wood and Ross, coined the term scaffolding while using ZPD in various educational contexts. All right, so here we see Vygotsky and another look at his ZPD. In the center, we have what a learner can do unaided, and in the outer circle, what a learner cannot do, even with assistance, and then in between, the ZPD. So ZPD is best understood as the zone of the closest, most immediate psychological development of the children that includes a wide range of their emotional, cognitive, and volitional psychological processes. In contemporary educational research and practice, though, it is often interpreted as the distance between what a learner can do without help and what they can do with support from a knowledgeable adult. All right, and Jerome Bruner was an American psychologist who developed the language acquisition support system, which shows that parents and caregivers who have a good interaction with a child will result in a child that is better in a social situation in early years. And scaffolding is a process through which a teacher or a more competent peer helps a student in their ZPD as necessary and tapers off this aid as it becomes unnecessary, much as workers remove a scaffold from a building after they complete construction. And Jerome Bruner broke his scaffolding process down into 6 steps: recruitment, reduction in degrees of freedom, direction maintenance, marking critical features, frustration control, and modeling. Recruitment. The tutor's first and obvious task is to enlist the problem solver's interest in the task. Reduction in degrees of freedom. This involved simplifying the task by reducing the number of constituent acts required to reach solution. It was Bernstein who first pointed to the importance of reducing the alternative movements during skill acquisition as an essential to regulating feedback so that it could be used for correction. Direction maintenance. The tutor has the role of keeping them in pursuit of a particular objective. The effective tutor also maintains direction by making it worthwhile for the learner to risk a next step. Marking critical features. A tutor, by a variety of means, marks or accentuates certain features of the task that are relevant and provides information about the discrepancy between what the learner has produced and what he would recognize as a correct production. Frustration control. There should be some maxim as problem solving should be less dangerous or stressful with a tutor than without. Whether this is accomplished by face saving for errors or by exploiting the learner's wish to please or by other means is of only minor importance. The major risk is in creating too much dependency on the tutor. Modeling. This involves considerably more than simply performing in the presence of the tutee. It involves an idealization of the act to be performed. The tutor is imitating, in idealized form, an attempted solution tried by the tutee in expectation that the learner will then imitate it back in a more appropriate form. So how do we apply scaffolding to English language teaching? Recruitment, reduction in degrees of freedom, direction maintenance, marking critical features, frustration control, demonstration, or modeling. How would you rephrase these terms into more ELT specific concepts? All right, so I've done that on the left. Helping students focus, helping students notice language items and correct errors, simplification of task, demonstration or modeling, assisting students, engaging students' interests. Though my order doesn't match Bruner's. So take a minute and see if you can match what I've come up with for terms and his terms. So here's what I have. Engaging students' interest, that's recruitment. Simplification of task, reduction of freedom. Helping students focus, direction maintenance. Helping students notice language items and correct errors, marking critical features. Assisting students, frustration control, demonstration or modeling, demonstration. Now, what would be the ideal sequence for you in your teaching context? Create a scaffolding sequence. And I'll show you what I've come up with. 1. Simplification of task. 2. Engaging students' interest. 3. Demonstration or modeling. 4. Helping students focus. 5. Assisting students. And 6. Helping students notice language items and correct errors. Let's look at these in more detail. Simplification. This must be done in the lesson planning stage. What are your objectives? Your communicative objective, your language objective, and your phonological objective. And what's your context? How will what you teach be relevant to your learners? Everything has to be simple and focused in order to make the lesson as effective as possible. All right, and then during the lesson, we have interest at the beginning of the lesson and possibly before each activity. Demonstration before each activity. This can be oral and or physical and or written. Focus, awareness, and noticing. These are done while monitoring the students, doing their work, and during feedback time. And note that this is not a fixed sequence. After the initial simplification, interest, and demonstration, the other steps, focus, awareness, noticing, and even if necessary, interest and demonstration can be repeated as necessary in any order. The important thing is for the teacher to be aware of what the learner's needs are and to respond appropriately. All right, now let's practice using these steps in lesson planning. What would be an effective way to sequence the activities below in a lesson? Put them in order according to your preference and identify any of these SIDFAN steps that would apply to each step. All right, so this is just a generic lesson plan. It's a generic outline. Inductive approach of grammar or lexis, Q&A preparation, meaning conversation preparation, paragraph or dialogue, some sort of input, Q&A in pairs or groups, review, picture, video, or question with discussion, and short conversation. So put them in order, and then I'll show you what I've come up with. All right. So 1, picture, video, or question with discussion. So this is to generate interest, get the students interested in the topic, to show them how it's relevant to their lives in some way, and also to test them, see what they know. 2, paragraph or dialogue. So the content will include the target language, lexical items or grammar, even pronunciation. So that will serve as a demonstration and help them focus on the target language and maybe notice it, though you don't necessarily need to teach anything at this point. And then a short conversation in pairs or between you and the students. Again, guiding the conversation in some way to help them focus on the target features and notice them. Though again, you don't need to teach anything at this point. And then Q&A preparation. All right, I have to have my students write down their answers, and I allow them to create some additional questions and answer them as well in order to provide for some differentiation. So after they start doing that, I stop them after a minute and ask for some students to give me some of their answers so I can put them on the board for demonstration purposes. And I'll help them focus on the target items, and I'll correct any errors, so that's assistance, and try to get them to notice the features and errors, the target items and any errors that have come up. Next, inductive approach or deductive for grammar or lexis. So you're going to demonstrate the target language, help them focus on it, assist them with any error correction that they need, help them notice the features. All right, and then Q&A, so more conversation in pairs or groups, and you monitor them, and it should be set up to help them focus on the target items, and you can assist them and help them notice what you want them to focus on one-to-one, or you can stop the conversation from time to time and take a minute or so and give them some feedback. And finally, a review at the end. Ask the students for some feedback on what they did, what they learned, what questions they have, and see if they noticed the target language features. So, in conclusion, we have this quote by Wass and Golding: giving students the hardest tasks they can do with scaffolding leads to the greatest learning gains. So in order to maximize our learners' English development, our lessons and activities must be properly scaffolded, which will give them the support they need to learn to use English effectively and independently. And here are my sources. I appreciate your taking the time to watch this. I appreciate your watching this, and any comments that you leave or questions that you have are welcome. Thank you again. Have a great day.